The desert was endless. The wind moved the sand like waves in the sea, and the sun burned in the sky without mercy. Rian walked behind Mira, trying to keep his face covered from the hot air. He had never been this far from Sandreach, the frontier colony where he was born. The colony was a small place of metal houses and water tanks, built on the edge of a land where few dared to go. Rian was young, full of energy, and always curious about the world beyond the colony walls. When the rumor came that ancient ruins had been seen in the desert after a great sandstorm, he wanted to see them for himself. He joined a small team led by Mira, who was known as the best guide in all the wastelands, and Tovan, an old historian who had spent his life studying old tales in forgotten places. For 2 days, they walked under the burning sun. At night, the temperature dropped and the cold crept into their bones. They camped under the stars, sharing short stories to keep their minds awake. Mira always sat apart, her sharp eyes scanning the horizon even when everyone else was resting. She said the desert was never empty. It hid things, both good and bad. On the morning of the 3rd day, the air changed. The wind grew stronger and began to howl like a living thing. The sand rose high into the sky, blocking the sun. Mira shouted for them to stay close. Rian could barely see her shape in the storm. The world became a blur of yellow and gold, and the sound of the wind drowned out all other noise. For hours, they pushed forward through the storm. Then, through the shifting sand, Rian saw something dark and solid. It was tall, larger than any stone he had seen in the desert, and shaped like an arch. He pointed it out to Myra, and they struggled toward it. When they reached it, Rian felt his heart beat faster. The arch was covered with strange markings. Some were circles and lines, others were shapes of humans and tall alien figures standing together. The stone was black and smooth but half buried under the sand. Tovan moved closer, brushing away the dust with his hands. His eyes shone with excitement. "This is older than any known alien city," he said. "Older than our records. Maybe even older than human history itself." Rian stepped back and looked around. More shapes were rising from the sand pillars, broken walls, and another arch further away. The storm had uncovered a hidden place, asleep under the desert for who knows how long. Myra frowned and ran her fingers over a set of symbols near the base of the arch. "These look like the signs used by the desert clans," she said. "The old ones who still wander far from the colonies. They may know something about this place." Tovan shook his head. "The clans tell many stories, but this..." He touched the carvings again. "This is real. This is history before the galaxy was split between species. Look humans and aliens together, not as enemies." Rian felt a strange pull toward the arch. His eyes fell on a round carving shaped like the sun, set in the center of the stone. The moment his hand touched it, he felt a deep vibration run through the ground. The sand trembled under his feet. The arch groaned, as if waking from a long sleep. The carvings began to glow faintly, light flowing through the cracks between the stones. Slowly the sand in front of them sank away, revealing a wide stone stairway leading down into the darkness. A rush of cool air rose from below. It smelled clean and fresh, not like the dry heat above. Myra stared at the opening. "This was not meant to be found," she said. Tovan's face was pale, but his eyes burned with interest. "We must see what lies inside. If this is what I think it is, it could change everything we know about our place in the galaxy." Rian's heartbeat quickened. He was not sure why, but he felt as if the place had been waiting for them. Waiting. For him. He could not explain it, but something deep inside told him that this was the start of something far greater than they understood. They lit their lamps and began to descend the stairs. The noise of the storm above faded with each step. replaced by a low, steady hum that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The stone under Rian's feet was smooth and cold, untouched by time. The stairway led into a wide hallway lined with tall pillars. Each pillar was covered in carvings of battles in the skyships shaped like arrows, beams of light striking dark masses that had no clear shape. Among the warriors in the carvings, humans stood side by side with alien forms, all facing the same enemy. Myra's voice was low. "I have never seen anything like this." Tovin ran his hand over a scene showing a human handing a glowing sphere to a tall alien. These stories are not just about war. They are about trust and unity. As they walked deeper, Rian felt the air grow warmer. The humming sound grew stronger, and for a moment he thought he heard a whisper, like a voice far away. He stopped and looked back, but Myra and Tovin were already moving forward, unaware. They reached a chamber where the walls curved high above them. Faint lines of light ran through the ceiling like rivers, casting a soft glow on the floor. In the center, there was another door, round and sealed with a pattern of interlocking plates. Tovin studied the plates with great care. This is not simple decoration. It is a lock. A very old and very clever lock. Myra's eyes scanned the shadows. "We should be careful. A place like this may have guards, even after all these years." Rian felt that strange pull again. He could almost hear the faint whisper calling him forward. Without thinking, he stepped closer to the round door, his fingers brushing the metal plates. The whisper grew louder for just a moment, and he thought it said his name. He stepped back quickly, his heart racing. He did not tell Myra or Tovin what he had heard. Something told him the truth of this place was more than just stone and carvings. Something alive was waiting in the dark, and it had just noticed them. The three stood before the round door, their lamps casting long shadows across the chamber. The air was still and heavy, as if the place itself was holding its breath. Rian could feel the faint vibration under his boots, like the ground had a slow heartbeat. Tovin stepped closer, running his fingers over the pattern of plates. Each one was shaped differently, some like stars, others like crescents. In the very center was the same sun-shaped emblem Rian had touched above. "This door is not made to be broken," Tovin said softly. "It opens only for those who know. It's secret." Mira kept her eyes on the shadows at the edges of the room. "And do you know that secret?" Tovin shook his head. "Not yet, but I have seen similar designs in old records. This is a memory lock. It responds to a certain touch or presence. Perhaps," he turned to Rian, his eyes sharp, "perhaps the same as above." Rian hesitated. "You think it will open for me again?" "It might," Tovin said. "Whatever you did before, do it again. Gently. Think of the sun." Rian stepped forward. His fingers hovered over the emblem. The moment he touched it, the plates began to shift with a low, grinding sound. One by one, they slid aside, forming a spiral pattern. Light spilled from the cracks, bathing the chamber in a warm, golden glow. Mira took a step back. "It is answering to you." The door slowly rolled aside, revealing a sloping passage that led down into deeper darkness. The light from within was soft but steady, coming from glowing lines along the walls. Tovin's voice was filled with wonder. "These lights, they are still working after all these centuries. This technology is beyond anything our colonies can build." They stepped into the passage, the air becoming cooler and cleaner. The walls were smooth, carved from a single material that felt harder than stone but warmer than metal. As they walked, the passage curved gently until it opened into another vast hall. Here, the walls were covered in even more detailed carvings. They showed not only battles but also great gatherings, humans and tall alien beings standing together in circles, holding objects that shone like stars. In one carving, A group of humans stood before a great sphere of light. Mira moved slowly, her hand brushing the images. These are not pictures of conquest. They are pictures of sharing, of peace. Tovin nodded. Perhaps this was a place where different peoples came together long before our time. In the center of the hall was a raised platform. Upon it stood a narrow pillar topped with a crystal the size of a man's head. The crystal glowed faintly, casting ripples of light across the floor. Rian felt the same pull as before, but stronger now. He walked toward it without realizing, his feet moving on their own. When he was close, the crystal brightened and the air around it seemed to hum. He could hear the faint whisper again, clearer than before. Though still not in any language, he understood. Mira stepped beside him, her voice low. "It is speaking to you." Rian shook his head. "I don't understand the words, but it feels like it knows me, like it is remembering me." Before Tovin could answer, a sound echoed from behind them. It was faint at first, then clearer, the sound of stone shifting and sand falling. Mira's eyes narrowed. The storm above must have moved more sand. The way out may change. They decided to keep moving forward. At the far side of the hall was another doorway, this one tall and narrow. Above it, a carving showed the same sun emblem, surrounded by stars. Passing through, they found themselves in a smaller chamber. Here, the floor was marked with a circular pattern. In the center was a shallow depression, as if something round had once rested there. Around the circle were strange metal rods, each tipped with a crystal shard. Tovin crouched to examine them. "A focus array," he murmured. "It channels energy from one place to another. But whatever was placed here is gone." Mira looked at Rian. "Do you feel anything here?" Rian closed his eyes for a moment. The whisper was there, but weaker. It was as if the voice was waiting for something to return. They searched the room, but found no sign of the missing object. Only the empty depression remained, its surface smooth and unmarked by time. Suddenly, a low thrum passed through the floor, and the crystals on the rods flickered to life. The light danced from one shard to another, forming a ring of brightness around the center. The air grew warmer, and the whisper returned in Rian's mind, stronger, now urgent. He staggered back, clutching his head. Mira caught his arm. "What is it?" "It is saying something," Rian gasped. "But I still don't know the words, only the feeling. It wants us to go deeper." Tovin's eyes lit with excitement. "Then deeper we go. This place may still be whole beneath the sands. If we find its heart, we may find the truth of its builders." They left the circular chamber and followed a narrow corridor that sloped gently downward. The walls here were bare, without carvings, but the glow from hidden lines kept the path lit. After some time, the passage widened again into a larger space. This hall was different from the others. The pillars were taller, and at the far end stood a massive statue, half human, half alien, with a face that seemed both familiar and strange. The statue's hands held a sphere that shone with soft golden light. Mira whispered, "It is like the stories of the desert clans, a guardian of two worlds." Tovin studied the statue carefully, and perhaps the keeper of this temple. If the clan stories are true, such a guardian would have been placed to protect something of great power. As they approached, the sphere in the statue's hands pulsed with light. The hum in the air deepened, and Rian felt the voice again, not in his ears, but in his mind. It was stronger than ever, and though the words were still unknown, the meaning was clear. It was calling him forward. He stepped closer, drawn by something he could not explain. The moment his foot touched the base of the statue, the sphere flared brightly, flooding the hall with light. The statue's eyes seemed to glow, and for an instant, Rian thought they moved. Mira and Tovin stood frozen, their faces pale. The air was alive now, as if the whole temple had awakened. and deep within the stone, something began to move. The hall was filled with a deep, steady hum. The golden light from the sphere in the statue's hand spilled across the floor like warm sunlight, chasing away every shadow. Rian stood at the base of the statue, his heart pounding, his skin prickling, as if the light itself was touching him. Myra and Tovin watched from a short distance, not daring to move. The air around them felt charged, almost alive. It was not like the wind of the desert or the heat of the sun. This was different. It was as if the very stones of the temple were breathing. Then Rian heard it again, the whisper. It was clearer than before, though still in that strange language. The sound was not coming from the air or the walls. It was inside his mind, soft, but insistent. He closed his eyes, trying to focus. Images began to form in his thoughts. He saw a sky filled with stars, and among them, shapes of ships, some human, some alien flying together in formation. Then came a shadow, dark and formless, spreading across the stars like a cloud. Flashes of light followed, battles in the void, and the faces of many beings, human and alien, standing side by side. When he opened his eyes, he found Myra staring at him. "Something happened," she said. "I saw." Rian stopped, trying to find the right words. "I saw a war. Not between us and aliens, but us and something else. Something darker." Tovin stepped forward quickly. "Did the voice tell you this?" Rian nodded slowly. "It showed me. And I think it wants us to go further in." Mira glanced at Tovin, then back to Rian. "If this is a warning, we must be careful. This temple is more than just stone. It remembers." Before they could speak more, a faint sound echoed through the hall. It was a slow, heavy step, followed by another. The sound came from beyond the statue, in the shadows of a narrow passage they had not yet entered. The humming grew louder, and the golden light flickered as if in response to the approaching sound. Myra's hand went to the small blade she carried, though she knew it would be useless against whatever lived here. From the shadows, a shape began to emerge. It was taller than any human, with a body made of bronze-colored metal. Its surface was smooth in some places and worn in others, marked with lines and symbols that seemed to glow faintly. The head was shaped like a helmet, with two narrow eyes of pale light. The figure stopped at the edge of the light, standing perfectly still. Then it spoke in a voice that was deep and strange, a mix of human tone and alien echo. "Who enters the Hall of the First Ones?" The words were slow and uneven, as if it had not spoken in a very long time. Tovin stepped forward, his voice steady but respectful. "We are travelers from the surface. We come seeking knowledge." The figure tilted, its head slightly. "Knowledge is not given to all. Only the chosen may pass." Mira's eyes narrowed. "And how do we prove we are chosen?" The figure's glowing eyes shifted to Rian. "The key has already been turned. There stands before." Rian froze. "May?" The figure stepped closer, its heavy feet making a dull sound on the stone. It raised one hand, palm open, toward Rian. The air between them shimmered faintly, and Rian felt a warmth spreading through his chest. The voice in his mind spoke again, not in words but in feelings, trust, recognition, and duty. The figure lowered its hand. "You carry the mark. Long ago, your kind stood here, guardians of the sun heart. It sleeps still, waiting to awaken." Tovin's eyes widened. "The sun heart? What is that?" The figure's gaze shifted to him. "A gift and a burden. A light that can warm worlds or burn them." Mira stepped closer to Rian. "If this thing is telling the truth, then we are standing in a place built by humans long before our history began." The figure turned toward the dark passage it had come from. "If you seek the truth, you must follow." But know this: beyond lies the vault. Once you enter, you cannot turn back until the choice is made. Without waiting for a reply, the figure began walking into the passage. Its glowing eyes lit the way like pale lanterns. The three followed, their footsteps echoing softly. The passage was narrow, with walls that seemed to hum with the same energy that filled the hall. The air grew cooler, and a faint light pulsed from the floor with each step they took, as if the temple itself was guiding them. After some time, the passage opened into another chamber. This one was smaller, but its ceiling was high, and the walls were lined with tall crystal pillars. Each pillar glowed faintly, casting shifting patterns of light across the floor. In the center was a wide circular platform with a deep groove running through it. The bronze figure stopped at the edge of the platform. "This is the Chamber of Echoes," it said. "Here, the past speaks." As Rian stepped onto the platform, the light from the pillars brightened. The air shimmered, and suddenly, the chamber was filled with moving images. They floated in the air like memories, scenes of a great city under two suns, humans and aliens walking its streets. Then came the shadow again, spreading across the sky, followed by fire and destruction. Ships fled into the darkness, carrying the last survivors. The images faded, leaving the chamber dim once more. Rian's hands were clenched without him noticing. "That was real. I felt it." The bronze figure nodded slowly. "It is your memory now. The vault is near. Beyond it, the Sun Heart waits. But beware others seek it still. They will come." Myra exchanged a glance with Tovin. "Others? Who?" The figure's eyes dimmed slightly. "Those who would use the Sun Heart for conquest. Those who would see the galaxy burn rather than bow." Rian stepped off the platform, his mind heavy with questions. The whisper in his head was quiet now, but it still lingered like a shadow in his thoughts as they left the chamber. He looked once more at the bronze figure. "If I go to the vault, will I understand what the Sun Heart wants?" The figure's voice was calm. "You will understand what you must do." They followed it deeper into the temple, the light of the crystal pillars fading behind them. Somewhere ahead, past stone and silence, waited the heart of this place and the choice it would demand. The passage ahead grew wider and taller, as if leading into the heart of a great hall. The bronze figure moved with slow, steady steps, its glowing eyes casting a faint light on the smooth walls. Rian, Mira, and Tovin followed in silence, each feeling the weight of what lay ahead. The air had a cool stillness to it, yet there was also a strange tension, as if something was watching from beyond sight. The passage ended in an archway carved with the sun emblem surrounded by stars. Beyond it stretched a vast chamber, unlike anything they had seen before. The ceiling rose high above, supported by towering columns of crystal that shone with soft golden light. The walls were lined with carvings, showing a single object at the center of many scenes, a glowing sphere, held by human and alien hands. Alike at the far end of the chamber was a circular platform. Upon it stood a tall structure made of smooth metal and crystal, shaped like a cradle. Resting in the cradle was a sphere of light, no larger than a man's head, floating in the air without support. The glow from the sphere filled the room with warmth and made the shadows retreat into the corners. The bronze figure stopped just inside the archway. "This is the vault of the Sun Heart," it said. "Here it has rested through the ages, waiting for the one who bears the mark." Rian stepped forward, unable to look away from the sphere. The pull he had felt since first touching the sun emblem above was now stronger than ever. The voice in his mind returned, no longer a whisper but a steady, gentle presence. It did not speak in words, but filled him with a sense of recognition, as if greeting an old friend. Tovin's eyes were wide with awe. "Do you know what this could mean for humanity? This could power cities for centuries. It could drive ships faster than light without fuel. It could destroy worlds, Myra cut in, her voice sharp. She kept her eyes on the sphere. Something like this is not just a gift, it is a danger. Before Tovin could reply, the ground trembled slightly. From the shadows between the pillars, a sound rose, a deep, metallic rumble, followed by the slow thud of heavy steps. Another figure stepped into the light, larger than the bronze one they had followed. This one was made of dark silver metal, with heavier armor and broader shoulders. Its head was shaped like a crown, and in one hand it held a long staff tipped with a crystal blade. The bronze figure bowed its head slightly. The Guardian. The silver figure's eyes glowed a fierce white as it stepped forward, its voice deep and commanding. "Who dares approach the Sunheart?" The bronze figure answered, "The heir has come." The Guardian's gaze fixed on Rian. "The blood of the first ones runs in you, but blood is not enough. You must prove your worth, or you will not leave this chamber alive." Myra shifted her stance, ready to defend if needed, but the Guardian raised its staff and struck it once against the floor. The sound echoed through the chamber like thunder. The crystal pillars brightened, and the air seemed to grow heavier. Rian swallowed. "How do I prove my worth?" The Guardian took a step closer. "Not through battle alone, but through choice. The Sunheart will test you. If your heart seeks only power, it will burn you. If it finds truth, it will follow you." Tovin moved forward, excitement shining in his eyes. "Then let him take it. If he is truly the heir, it will accept him. We will bring it back to the colonies, and—" the Guardian's voice cut through his words like steel. "If you take it to wage war, you will bring ruin to all. The Sunheart remembers the last war. It will not allow its light to be twisted again." Myra glanced at Rian. "This is your choice. But think before you touch it. Power like this has ended worlds before." The bronze figure moved aside, giving Rian a clear path to the platform. The Sunheart floated there, glowing softly, waiting. The hum in the air was now a deep song that seemed to flow through his chest. He stepped forward, slowly, each footstep echoing in the vast chamber. The closer he came, the warmer the light felt. When he reached the platform, he stopped just a step away. The voice in his mind grew stronger, showing him flashes of the past cities shining in twin sunsets, fleets of ships carrying hope across the stars, and then the shadow of destruction. He saw the Sunheart blazing with fierce light turning enemy fleets to ash. He saw the last Guardians hiding it here in the desert, sealing it away until the right heir came. Rian took a deep breath and reached out. His fingers brushed the light. It was warm but solid, as if it was both energy and matter at the same time. The moment he touched it fully, the glow surged brighter, filling the chamber with golden fire. The carvings on the walls lit up, and the floor beneath them hummed with power. The Guardian lowered its staff slightly. "It knows you." The bronze figure nodded. "The heir has been chosen." But the moment of calm did not last. A sudden tremor shook the ground, and from far above came the sound of stone grinding against stone. The Guardian turned sharply toward the entrance. "They are here," it said. Myra frowned. "Who?" The Guardian's voice was grim. "Those who follow the scent of power. Raiders, warlords. They have breached the outer gates." Tovin's eyes went wide. "If they take the Sunheart, they will not," the Guardian said firmly. It turned to Rian. "You must decide now. Will you take the Sunheart into the world, or will you protect it here until the galaxy is ready?" The voice in Rian's mind was calm but heavy with meaning. He knew this was more than a simple choice. This was the reason the temple had awakened for him. Before he could answer, the sound of running footsteps echoed down the passage. The Guardian stepped forward, raising its staff. "Stand behind me," it commanded. "The test is not yet over." The golden light of the Sunheart glowed brighter, as if preparing for what was to come. And in that moment, Rian knew the real battle was about to begin. The sound of footsteps grew louder, mixed with the clinking of metal and sharp voices shouting in a language Rian did not know. The Guardian stood tall, staff raised, its wide eyes glowing like twin stars. The bronze figure stepped beside it, ready to defend the chamber. Mira moved closer to Rian, her hand gripping the hilt of her small blade. "We may have to fight our way out," she whispered. Toven's gaze stayed fixed on the Sunheart. His voice was low but intense. "This is our chance. If we can take it now, we can escape before they reach us." Rian shook his head. "You heard the Guardian. This is not just a tool. It is dangerous." Before Toven could argue, a group of shadowy figures appeared in the archway. There were 6 of them, wearing dark armor with curved helmets. Their leader stepped forward, a tall alien with gray skin, narrow eyes, and a long scar running down one cheek. He carried a staff-like weapon crackling with blue light. The Guardian's voice boomed through the chamber. "Vorax, you are not welcome here." The alien smiled coldly. "I have come for what you guard. The Sunheart belongs to my people. You have kept it from us long enough. It belongs to no one," the Guardian replied. "It is the light of all worlds." Vorax's eyes shifted to Rian, then to the sphere. "And yet you let a child stand. So close to it. Step aside, human. This is beyond you." Rian felt the voice in his mind again. It was calm but strong, urging him to stand firm. "No," he said aloud. "If you take it, you will use it to destroy." Vorax's smile faded. He raised his staff, and the air around it sparked with blue energy. "Then you will die with the others." The battle began in an instant. The Guardian stepped forward, swinging its staff in a wide arc that sent a wave of light crashing into the raiders. 2 of them were thrown back, hitting the crystal pillars with a hard thud. Mira dashed to the side, moving between the shadows and striking one of the attackers from behind. The bronze figure fought beside the Guardian, its movements slower but heavy, each strike forcing the raiders back. Rian stayed near the Sunheart, his hands clenched, unsure if he should try to use it. Toven's voice called from behind him. "Rian, give it to me. I can use it." Rian turned sharply. "No. You said yourself this could end worlds." "It could save ours," Toven shouted, his face pale with anger and desperation. With this, the human colonies would never have to fear alien rule again. Before Rian could answer, one of the raiders broke past the defenders and lunged toward the Sunheart. Rian acted without thinking. He reached out and touched the sphere with both hands. The moment his skin met the light, a surge of warmth and strength poured through him. His vision filled with golden fire. The voice in his mind was no longer faint. It was clear, though still not in any human language. Yet he understood its meaning. Protect. Do not destroy. The Sunheart's glow flared brighter, and a pulse of energy burst from it in all directions. The wave knocked the raider back, across the chamber, sending him crashing into the wall. The light washed over the Guardian and bronze figure without harm, but every enemy it touched was thrown off their feet. Vorax shielded his eyes against the glare. "So, the air has touched it," he growled. "Then I will take it from your dead hands." He leapt forward, moving with surprising speed. His weapon clashed with the Guardian's staff, sending sparks into the air. The chamber rang with the sound of metal striking metal. Mira rushed to help, slashing at the raiders who tried to join the fight. Toven, breathing hard, moved closer to Rian again. "Rian, listen to me. We cannot leave this here. If they come back in greater numbers, they will take it. Better it be in our hands." Rian looked at him, still holding the Sunheart. The warmth in his hands was steady, but he could feel the power inside it vast and endless. If it were taken from this place, nothing could stop it from being used to destroy. The Guardian's voice called over the clash of battle. "Air, The vault will not hold much longer. You must choose remove the sun heart and take its burden, or return it to its cradle and seal this place. Rian's mind raced. If he took it, they could leave and keep it from Vorax for now, but it might only delay its misuse. If he left it, the temple could hide it again for centuries, but there was no guarantee that others would not find it someday. Vorx broke free from the Guardian's defense and rushed toward the platform. Rian felt the sun heart respond, its light growing hotter, almost warning him. He raised it above his head. A golden wave of light erupted outward, blinding everyone in the chamber. The raiders cried out, stumbling back toward the archway. Mira shielded her eyes, while the Guardian stood unmoved, its glowing gaze fixed on Rian. When the light faded, the raiders were gone. Only the echo of their retreating footsteps remained. The chamber was silent once more. Rian lowered the sun heart, breathing hard. "It let me use its power," he said quietly. The Guardian stepped forward. "Because you did not seek to harm. That is why it chose you." Mira looked around at the damage, the cracked pillars, the scorch marks on the floor. "If that was just a fraction of its strength, I understand why it has been hidden." Toven said nothing. His eyes still lingered on the sphere, but he knew now it would not obey him. The Guardian spoke again. "They will return. They will not stop. You must decide its fate before they bring greater armies." Rian looked at the sun heart in his hands. It pulsed softly, almost like a heartbeat. The voice in his mind was calm again, but the choice was his alone. "I will decide," Rian said, "but I will not decide in anger." The Guardian gave a slow nod. "Then we have little time." Far above them, faint and distant, came the rumble of more movement, proof that the threat was not gone, only delayed. And deep inside, Rian knew the real choice would come very soon. The air inside the deep chamber grew tense. The Guardian's voice faded into silence as a low vibration traveled through the stone floor. Rian turned his head toward the dark tunnel they had entered earlier. From the echo of heavy steps, he knew they were no longer alone. Mira's eyes narrowed as she placed her hand on her staff. Toven backed away from the sun heart, glancing nervously between the shadows and the glowing device. Then the invaders appeared, the first to step into. The light was tall and broad, with dark-scaled skin and glowing yellow eyes. He wore armor made from metal plates shaped like jagged teeth. Behind him came others, armed with long blades and strange energy rifles. The leader's deep voice carried across the vault. "So, this is where the old power hides," he said. "This is what we have searched for across the sands." The Guardian moved forward, placing itself between the sun heart and the intruders. "You are not welcome here." The Guardian said the vault belongs to the First Ones and their heirs. The leader laughed a short, rough laugh. "I am Vorax, son of the Desert Storms. My people fought the First Ones, and we will take what is ours." The tension broke in an instant. Two of the raiders charged forward, swinging their weapons at the Guardian. Sparks flew as the metal giant blocked their strikes with its bronze arm. The sound of battle filled the vault as more raiders rushed in. Myra leaped toward one of them, striking with her staff in quick, powerful swings. The raider stumbled backward, caught off guard by her speed. Rian felt his heart pounding. He grabbed a crystal shard from the floor, using it like a short blade. A raider swung at him, and Rian ducked under the strike before ramming the shard into the raider's arm. The attacker shouted in pain and fell back. Toven did not join the fight. His eyes were fixed on the sun heart, and his hands trembled. In the chaos, he saw his chance. He stepped toward the glowing device, reaching out as if he could lift it from its stand. The moment his fingers touched the light, a surge of energy pulsed through the vault. The Guardian turned sharply. "Do not touch it," the Guardian's voice boomed. But it was too late. The Sunheart's light flickered, as if disturbed from its rest. The hum in the air grew sharper, almost painful. Vorik saw Toven's action and roared. "Get it from them. Take it now." More raiders pushed forward, forcing Mira and Rian back toward the Sunheart. The Guardian struck 2 attackers aside, but another managed to stab its shoulder joint with a glowing spear. The giant staggered, yet still stood. Rian knew they could not let the raiders take the Sunheart. He remembered the voice he had heard. In his mind earlier, it had spoken about protecting, not using. The words returned now, as clear as sunlight. "You must seal the vault." He turned to Mira. "We have to stop them from taking it. Can you keep them back for a moment?" Myra nodded, her eyes fierce. "Go, Rian. I will hold them." Rian stepped to the Sunheart, placing both his hands on its warm, glowing surface. The energy rushed into him like a river. His vision filled with images of cities in the stars, great ships in battle, and humans and aliens fighting side by side. Then the images shifted to fire and ruin. He understood why this power was dangerous. With all his strength, he willed the Sunheart to release a burst of light, not to destroy, but to push. The sphere responded, glowing brighter than the desert sun. A wave of golden energy shot outward, throwing every raider to the ground. Their weapons clattered away, their eyes blinded by the sudden brilliance. Even Vorik staggered back, his armor glowing red from the heat of the blast. The Guardian stepped forward, using the moment to push the great stone gate closed. It groaned as it moved, sealing the passage the raiders had used. Dust fell from the ceiling as the final gap shut with a heavy thud. Outside, the muffled roars of the trapped raiders faded into silence. Rian released the Sunheart and fell to his knees, breathing hard. His arms felt heavy and his vision swam. Mira rushed to his side, helping him stand. "You did it," she said. "You stopped them, but the victory carried a cost." The Guardian's movements had slowed, its glowing eyes dimming. The spear wound in its shoulder sparked with broken energy. It looked at Rian for a long moment. "You've done well, heir of the first ones, but my time ends now." "Oh, you cannot stop now," Rian said. "We still need youth." Guardian shook its great head. "My duty was to protect the vault until the right one came. That duty is complete. Now you must decide what happens next." Its voice grew quieter, like wind fading into the distance. "Protect the Sunheart. Use it only when the galaxy is ready. Trust in the strength of your people." With those final words, the Guardian sank to one knee, then became still. The soft light that had glowed from its armor faded into darkness. The silence in the chamber felt heavy, but also peaceful. Myra placed her hand on Rian's shoulder. "We should leave before the raiders find another way." Rian nodded, his gaze still on the Guardian. He promised silently that he would honor its last wish. They turned away from the Sunheart and began to walk toward the tunnel that led upward. Behind them, the golden light of the Sunheart shone steadily, as if watching them go. They had won the battle, but the final choice about the Sunheart's fate was still ahead. The desert wind greeted them as they stepped out of the temple. The sun was low in the sky, casting a warm golden glow across the endless sand. Rian stood still for a moment, breathing in the open air. Mira walked ahead, scanning the horizon for any sign of the raiders. The land looked empty, but the silence felt tense. Toven followed behind, his eyes still darting nervously. He kept glancing back at the entrance of the temple, as if expecting the raiders to burst out. But the stone gates remained closed, hiding the Sunheart deep inside. "We should keep moving," Myra said. "If they find another way in, we need to be far from here." Rian nodded, but his thoughts were far away. The Sunheart's light still glowed in his mind, and he could feel a faint hum in his hands where he had touched it. It was as if a part of its power had stayed with him. He remembered the images it had shown him, both the great hope and the terrible ruin. The choice was now his. They walked through the cooling sands until they reached a cluster of ancient stone pillars half buried in the dunes. They stopped there to rest, their feet aching from the long climb. Rian sat on a rock, his gaze on the fading sun. Mira sat beside him. "What are you thinking?" she asked. "I am thinking about what we should do with the sun heart," Rian replied. "If we leave it there, others will come again. And one day, they might take it." Myra's voice was calm. "And if we move it, others will still try to take it. But if it stays hidden deep inside the temple, at least it is safe for now." Toven spoke from where he stood leaning against a pillar. "Maybe we should use it." His eyes gleamed. "We could make our people strong again. We could rebuild the cities of the first ones." Rian turned to face him. "That is what the raiders wanted. They thought only of power. The sun heart is not meant to be used like that." Toven frowned. "How do you know?" "Because I felt it," Rian said softly. "It showed me what would happen. If we use it before we are ready, it will destroy more than it saves." The three of them fell silent. The wind hissed softly across the sand like a whisper of the past. That night they made a small fire from dry brush gathered near the ruins. They ate quietly, the stars bright above them. Rian looked up at those stars, thinking of the stories the Guardian had told him. He thought of the first ones who had built the temple, and of the promise they had left behind. When morning came, they continued their journey toward the nearest settlement. On the way, they passed through narrow canyons and across ridges of stone. Once or twice, they thought they saw shadows following them far behind, but the figures vanished whenever they looked too long. By the third day, they reached the outer edge of the green valley, where small farms lay scattered among palm trees. People came out from their houses to greet them, curious about the strangers from the desert. Mira spoke with the village elder, explaining that raiders had been seen in the sands and that everyone should stay alert. The elder listened carefully and promised to send word to other villages. Then he asked, "What did you find in the desert tree?" and hesitated. He looked at Myra, who gave a small nod. "We found something old," he said. "Something powerful, but it is not for us to use yet. It will remain hidden until the time is right." The elder did not press him further. Instead, he offered them food and water for their journey. That night, Rian could not sleep. He walked alone to the edge of the village where the desert began. The moon shone brightly over the dunes. He thought of the Guardian's last words and of the trust it had placed in him. He knew the temple would remain sealed for now, but he also knew the day would come when someone else might find it. He whispered to the wind, "I will protect it. I promise." The days that followed were peaceful. The raiders did not return, and the villagers slowly forgot the danger. But Rian and Mira never forgot. They began to travel between settlements, warning people of the hidden dangers in the desert, and watching for any sign of strangers who might seek the sun heart. Over time, their names became known across the region. Some called them keepers of the desert, others called them protectors of the old ways. But Rian knew they were simply guarding a secret, waiting for the right moment when the sun heart could be brought into the light without fear. One evening many months later, they stood together on a high dune watching the sun sink below the horizon. The sky burned with shades of gold and crimson. Mira smiled at the sight. "It is beautiful," she said. Rian replied, "and it will remain so if we make the right choices." He turned his gaze toward the distant sands where the temple lay hidden beneath the earth. Though no one else could see it, he knew it was there, still glowing with its quiet golden light, waiting for the day when the people of the desert and the stars beyond were ready. Until that day, Rian, Myra, and even Toven in his own way would keep watch over it. The secret of the desert temple would live on, not as a weapon to be used, but as a promise to the future, and so the sun heart remained in its silent chamber, guarded not by stone walls or bronze giants, but by the courage and wisdom of those who had chosen to walk away from its power. The desert kept its secret, and the stars above shone as they had for countless ages before.